Welcome everyone. In this video, we're going to take a look at some of the software and applications that I use to create my own projects and with helping others. So to create my own music for myself, I go ahead and I use an application called Mixcraft. And you can see right here on screen, this is something I just threw together last night. Nothing too complicated when you know what to do, I suppose. We're just taking simple chord progressions. And in this case, I'm using the Toxic Drip instrument that comes with this software. And you see, we get this kind of an interesting sound going on. Now, I know this sound probably isn't for everyone, but for myself, I've actually been enjoying this. And I've sat here last night with this just looping constantly for a while. It's going off in the background. But for audio, that's about all I really do for as far as my audio goes, the music side, if I need any. Then that takes us into, I guess, doing 3D and 2D. I guess for the start, before we even get into rendering anything on the screen, I do my code in either Godot, or Godot, or Godot, or whatever you guys want to call it. We've gone over that, which you've seen on the channel plenty of times, but I also use Python when either there's a situation where I need something done that cannot natively be done inside of Godot, inside of Godot. So if there's something that I need being done that can't be done natively in there, such as sending an email, and if I don't want to use a third-party API, then what I would do is I would create an application inside of Python and create that as an executable, and then bundle that with my other project. And when I need it, I can just call the executable to launch and run that process. So that's the way that I kind of get the two languages to kind of work together. And then if I need anything, such as the information for the email, in this case, I would save it into a file. And then from the Python, when that gets launched, the Python executable gets launched, it'll access the data in that file and then use that to send the email. And then I can just delete that file when it's completed. So I do ways to get them to work together. What I use for that, when I do use Python, for the changes or times when I need something that can't be done inside of the other language or inside the other program, again, I either run this aside with it, or I'll just completely create the project inside of it. And that is going to be PyCharm. So this is my personal preferred IDE. I do have both versions here. I've got the Community Edition and the Professional Edition down here, and I use this for my applications. I've used this for tutorials with helping some friends get into some things, such as when they want to make, say, a Discord bot, and they want to do it in here for whatever reason. I can show them how to do that. In addition, I can also make mobile apps through here as well. Which, for me, not my preferred, but I could do it. I also make my websites through here as well. So any website I create, I'll make it inside of PyCharm here. So this application here just takes, I've used the Russian language, and it takes the 1,000 most commonly used words in movies, and we create like a little flashcard game out of it. So if we just run it, you see it comes up, we get the Russian word, and then we get the English word. So you have that couple of seconds to read it and decide whether you know it or not. You get the answer in English, and then you can mark off whether you knew what that word was or if you didn't. As you see here, So you can just go through, and it's just like something that you can do to help you both study and learn the most commonly used words that you would need to know if you just want to expand your vocabulary past some, I don't know, basic knowledge that you maybe learned somewhere, or if you learned, say with Pimsleur, they like to go more the formal approach because Pimsleur was actually created for people to learn not only quickly, but specifically for businessmen that were traveling across seas and that different countries so that they can conduct some of their business, right? So you're going to get more of a formal there. So you're not going to learn some of the less formal words. And with this is going to help expand that vocabulary of yours. And of course, you can always do this with different languages as well. But yep. So we got just a simple little flashcard game here. So now that we got our code section handled out, we got to look at what we're rendering on screen. And in this case, you can see obviously with this, we're just using Python, and we can use Kivy or tkinter to render different things on screen. Of course, we also got Pygame if you wanted to make a game. But outside of that, we're still going to need images and that we use in here, even if we wanted to make everything inside Python here. So what we're going to do for that is for my 2D, or at least graphics, I use Affinity Designer. Now, Affinity Designer is a one-time purchase. It's not like Adobe where you have to pay every single month to keep using their software. Personally, I'm not a fan of the subscription model, and I've never really liked Photoshop as it is. That's just me, though. So I opted in to get the Affinity Suite, which is about maybe $50-$60 US and each. And there's 3 software. There's Designer, Photo, and Publisher. I use Designer to do my graphics. I use Photo for some of the features that I might need that aren't available in Designer, because there are some differences between the two. Designer works in vector and can work in pixel or raster, whereas Photo is only at the pixel level. And then I use Publisher when it comes to writing and publishing my books. Now, what else do you need besides graphics? You're going to need, if you're working in 2D, you're going to need sprites, you're going to need characters. They're probably going to be animated. For that, I use a Sprite. And here we just got a little mail icon. We've got just small little icon of my book. And just some simple backgrounds here. So this is what I opt into using. You can also use this if you want to create GIFs of your sprite. And if you're using Godot or Godot, again, whichever you prefer for your pronunciation, there's actually a plugin that you can get that will allow you to export your sprite with all of its animations directly over there. And it'll have all the animations perfectly created for you, which is fantastic. And it's a nice way to help integrate the two software together if you use them. Of course, this only helps if you make 2D. Now, if you're making 3D, my personal preference for making 3D is going to be using ZBrush, which I don't have open, and I'm not sure if I even have it actually installed on this computer. But ZBrush, it is a very expensive software. I'll say that. There are plenty of free options out there, such as Blender is a very popular one for 3D. But my preference is ZBrush, and I like to create all my 3D models in there. But again, I don't even think I have it installed on this computer. I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to check, because I haven't done 3D in a long time now. But when it comes to once you finish your model, you're obviously going to need a few things. depending on the model. You're going to need animations and you're going to need textures. Now, when it comes to animations, I use Akitsu. It is a relatively affordable program, I would say. In the grand scheme of things, obviously, if you're using Blender, you could just use Blender and just stick with that if you wanted, as Blender does allow for animations as well. And I'm just going to go ahead and swap this over to animations. So you can do your animations, you can do poses, and you can export it all out. You can do your rigging in here. If you have a humanoid, you got some auto rigging that can be done in here as well. And if you use engines like Unity or Unreal, you can use the Unity or Unreal skeleton while you're in here. And this makes doing cycles, such as walk or run cycles, extremely easy. For some seamless looping, as you can see here, which is fantastic. Now, we only have the legs moving, obviously. If we were to have everything else, we would have the front kind of moving back and forth. The tail would be swinging, left and right with that momentum going. You get a little bit of swagger in those hips, but you get the idea, right? So this is where I do my animations and my rigging. And outside of that, we need textures. Go ahead and stop that. And for textures, I use Substance Painter. I always get Substance Painter and Substance Designer mixed up, but I use Substance Painter for creating my textures of my objects. So you can see here we got an old, dirty, kind of gunked up Game Boy going on here. In addition to this, let's see if I just come in here. I think I've also got... do we have the cabinet? We do have the cabinet. So I'll just discard changes that I've done there. It's fine. So if we come in here, this is which we're loading up this mode. All right. So we got a rendering mode going on here. So this is the gun cabinet that I've textured in here as well. Substance Painter is a fantastic texturing software, and if I'm not mistaken, it's still the industry standard when it comes to creating textures, especially in the gaming space. Let's just pull ourselves out of there. And I find this to be a pleasure to work with myself. And if you work with multiple textures or UDIMs, you got that works perfectly fine here. They're all just be spaced out. In this case, we only have the one. Why is this on an angle like that? It's better. But yeah, so I use Substance Painter for doing all of my texture work. And is there anything else really that we got to put in? Well, I think that about covers it. That gives us our 2D graphics, sprites, sprite animations. We went over the 3D software that I use, textures, animations, music, and our code. Yeah, that about covers it. If you're curious about what other software I use, or if you want a little more in-depth of an explanation, I suppose, on any of these, you can feel free to ask in the comments. And if there's anything that you want to see specifically, whether it's in code or with the software here, you can go ahead and leave a comment down below. Maybe we'll do that for the next video. But that'll do it for now. Take care, and I'll see you guys next week.